Hello everyone, this is Tina from Tina's Workshop. Today I'm going to spin dog fur. You heard me right, I'm spinning dog fur. My cousin sent me 13 vacuum sealed bags of dog fur from her dog that is a Samoyed. I will insert a picture of it. Beautiful white dog. Every time she would groom the dog, she would save the little bits, and she said she still has more of it at home. But she asked me if I could make yarn from the fur. I said sure. So it is in these little clumps from when it was groomed. And this one, I've done half the bag so far. So I've been experimenting a little bit. I actually did record a clip I might stick in from when I was first trying to do it. I just worked with my guild, my fiber guild, at Ag Day, and that's an event that the county holds, and the elementary school kids come through, and there's all these different agriculture things. And our guild has a booth every year, and we'll have people spinning and weaving and knitting and crocheting and doing all the different things. And I thought the kids would get a big kick out of the fact that I was spinning dog fur, and they did. The kids, the adults, everything, I'd make them guess, what do you think I'm spinning? What kind of animal? And they would guess all these things. They might guess cow and donkey and things like this before they would even think about dog. I would always like, okay. Few of them did actually guess it, but everybody was always surprised when I said it was dog. And the second day the first day I had a picture on my phone, but the second day I had printed out a picture. So each time I would tell them what it was, I picked up the picture so they could see the dog, which just made it even that much more. And then, oh my gosh, it's so cute. But that being said, I was trying to do it as easily as I could while I was down there. But it is dog fur. And you know what happens with dog fur, just in general, it gets all over the place. So, number one, I need my apron on, or at least over my lap, so that I don't have dog fur all over my clothes. So what I was doing while I was down there is I would take the thing of fluff and I just pulled it apart. This has not been washed. And I've looked up other videos on YouTube, and everybody would be washing and this and that, but it was always somebody's first attempt, and they had no idea what they were doing. I have had other people I've talked to who have spun dog fur that have told me, do not wash it first. So I've taken their advice, and it's a very, very clean. You can see how nice and clean. It's lovely. There's a little bit of a smell, not bad. Most of the time when I did smell it was when I first pull it out of there and I fluff it all up. And once it is finished in the yarn, that's when I'll wash it. and then I don't have to worry about any matting and stuff like that that's going to make it harder to spin. Now, I did, again, record a little clip where I tried to use the hand cards, and these fibers are incredibly short. It is a very soft, fuzzy dog, but the fibers are very, very short. So it didn't work well in the hand cards. So I just spun from the cloud, which was easier there because then I could pick up the ball of fluff and the kids could feel it and mess with it, and it didn't matter. Now, because I was spinning from the cloud, it is a little bit lumpier, bumpier. And when I spun my singles down there, you can kind of see, let's see if it focuses, hopefully. Not in front of my computer, so I can just look at the camera screen. It's a little bit lumpy bumpy. There were spots where I'd get fuzzy little bits that went in. And it's such a short fiber that you have to put a lot of twist into it. So, I mean, it's like super, super twisty. I mean, you can see the way it spins up. It is super twisty. And I kept winding it off in center pull ball while I was down there because I only had one bobbin. And I was surprised that I spun that much that quickly. So then I took the center pull and I spun it from that, and here is a finished skein. It came out really nice. It's a very balanced yarn. It's not super crinkly or anything. It has a very alpaca or Angora look to it. It's really nice and soft. It's actually a very beautiful yarn. Perfectly honest, it's prettier than I had expected it to be. So it's really, really nice. But I was curious if there was a way I could get it to come out just a little bit better. So I ran some through my drum carder, and I have this great big thing of fluff. It's still, you can see how loose it is. It's still very loose. So I don't know whether it's still going to be like spinning from the cloud or not. But what I'm going to do is I'm using this absolutely adorable little wheel, very tiny little flax wheel. And sorry. I already have about a half a bobbin here. So I'm going to finish spinning that bobbin from the cloud. And then after I finish that bobbin, I'm going to spin another bobbin with the carded stuff. And then I'll go ahead and ply everything and see if my spin with the carded comes out any better. If it doesn't, then I'm just going to do all the rest of it this way. But if it does come out better that way, then I will probably go ahead and card it. And it was really easy to card. I only ran it through one time. I just pulled it apart like this, and well, take it back. I put it on the carder, and it all, because it's so short, it was going on the liquor in, and it just, the static. So I painted it on the drum and ended up doing it that way because it was catching too much on there. And then I would pull what did end up still catching and put it back onto the drum. And that ended up working pretty well. So that's how I did that. So I'm going to move the camera so you guys can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to do some spinning. Hi. Hi. Was you jealous? Was you jealous? Am I spinning a different doggy fur? Can I smell? No? Okay. Generally, when people spin dog fur, they, from what I understand, they spin Samoyed, or Great Pyrenees is another one that will get spun a lot. And I'm not an expert on any of those dogs, but I'm going to guess from feeling this dog that it probably has a lot to do with the having a soft downy fluff, because I know the dogs I have would not be good for spinning. I do have a dog that has very coarse fur, outer fur, and soft under fur, but she would be way too hard to try to gather that soft fur from. My other dogs, I have 2 Chihuahuas that are just very coarse fur, and you don't get enough off of them when they're, I mean, they shed like crazy, but you don't get anything like this when you get fur off of them. A lot of times too, people will blend. They'll blend wool in with it, so that gives you some longer staple length and more flexibility to the fiber. And kind of like your alpaca, a lot of times people blend because it doesn't have the bounce back properties that sheep's wool does. So if it stretches out, it stays stretched out, it doesn't go back. Sheep's wool will go back. The dog fur is going to have that same type of thing. All that means is if you're doing a garment and it stretches, it's not going to fit right. But if you're doing something that's not a garment, it's not going to matter so much. I'm sure there's probably some other dogs out there that would work well, but you need one that has lots of soft fluff. Technically, you could spin just about anything, but the coarse stuff, unless you're making a rug or something, you're not going to be wanting to wear anything like that against your skin. This has a very nice halo on it though, like the alpaca and the Angora. Your mohair will also give you a halo effect like this. You can see the little slubs I keep getting. And that's what I'm hoping when I use the carded bat. I might not get those, but I won't know till I do it. This fur does have some guard hairs in it, some of the longer hairs, and you could sit and pull them out. You can see one right here. Possibly you can see it. Here. Let's see if you can see that one. There. So that's a long guard hair. So if you pull those out, they're the coarse ones. I get a slub too big. I do try to pull it out some. Look at those giant slubs. Super tight twist here, but giant slubs there that are like gonna just pull apart. That's annoying. See, that's just gonna, need to bring that end to stay. I'm not sure if things I had recorded earlier actually recorded or not. I guess I'll find out when I edit. Part of me thinks that this is working better, but then I get slubs like that, and I don't know if it's really worth it to do the extra carding. Oh, look, started getting big and chunky again. I don't like that. I'd almost prefer the slubs over getting a big and chunky piece. Okay, so there is the one that I did from the bat. And I don't know that it's really all that much different, but we'll apply them and see in the finished yarn if there's any difference. I'm going to ply this using my Ashford Elizabeth, and I'm going to ply from a center pull ball. My Ashford Elizabeth has a bigger bobbin than the other spinning wheel did, so I figure this is just going to make that a little bit easier. So this is one of the balls I spun from the Cloud. It feels weird using this spinning wheel after the other one. It's a much bigger wheel. The foot pedal's bigger. Everything about it's bigger and has a different feel under my foot. So it's just kind of weird after being on the other one. It's also smoother. It's a newer wheel. It's smoother. There's that skein. Now I'm going to spin, apply the one that had been carded. Okay, there is the carded one. And I will say at first glance, this one looks fluffier, a little thicker and a little fluffier than the other ones did. But I'm going to set the twist in these before we give our final opinions. I got all the fur spun. Well, I take it back. No, I did not get all that fur spun. I got all spun that I was going to spin. Did not do all 13 bags. I actually did about a bag and a half. And I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 skeins. But they're not all done the same. So you saw me working on some that I changed just a little bit. And then I did a couple other things. And I've put tags. I've put tags on here and labeled the different things. The only ones that are not labeled was the first ones I did, and there's 4 of those. So I did not put one on them. So those are the ones that I pulled apart and I spun from the cloud. And I got some of that lumpy bumpy, as I did it. So then I did the one where I carded it and then spun it. And I still got, it was a little bit better, but I still got lumpy bumpy. So looking at the 2 of those together, there's not a huge difference. Okay, so then the next one I did, I decided to spin straight from the little tufts without pulling them apart first, which was kind of like spinning from roving. And that was, no, then I did this one. Okay, so this one I pulled apart and I spun from the cloud like I did the others, but I did it on a different wheel. But it was still very similar. So it's still similar to the others. So then I did, that one was cloud. I did, hold on. Ah, it's hiding. Is that one hiding? No. Tags were hiding. 1, 2, 3. That one is the carded. Ah, there it is. Okay. I was like, I know I did the other one. Okay, so this one I spun from the little tufts. So it was like spinning roving. And I actually, to that point, I liked this one better because I was spinning a little bit more consistently, but it's still a little lumpy bumpy. And you can see once this has been set, it really blooms a lot. So you get a lot of halo on it. Okay, so far, here's our 4 different ones, but they still look very similar. This one, no, this one probably looks the most different from all of those. And this was, oh, this was one of the originals. So then I thought, okay, let's try and blend it. So I had some Corriedale. I had some Corriedale and I thought, okay, I'll blend it with some Corriedale. So I did a 75-25. So 75% dog fur, 25% Corriedale. And I first ran it through the drum carder and I put a layer of Corriedale, and then I did the dog fur and then another layer of Corriedale. So I sandwiched it and I tried that. And this was the extent of what I spun because it was not working. And what was happening was the Corriedale was, it just kept pulling it because it was, the staple length was a little bit longer. And so it just kept pulling the Corriedale and leaving the dog fur behind. So you can see it's not very pretty. I broke it off. I said no. So then I took what I had left back to the drum carder, ran it through 2 more times to blend it a little bit more. And then I did that again, and that was this one. And it's a little bit more consistent, but it kept pulling more of the Corriedale. And because it was doing that, I don't know if you can tell, it was really thick. So it was a very thick yarn compared to the other. So this one's the thicker one. So I didn't really like that. I didn't like the way it kept pulling these big chunks. So originally I thought, well, I would try the merino, but I came across my Corriedale first, so I did that. So then I went and dug out the merino, and I pulled out some merino and did the same thing again. 75% dog fur, 25% merino. Ran it through the drum carder 3 times. Wasn't going to sandwich this time, so I ran it through 3 times to really blend it. It was blending better than the other. And so then I spun that, and that's what I came up with. This spun so much more consistently. It's still slightly damp. It's almost all dry, but I mean, you can see that just came out so much nicer. Look at that. Much more consistent. I think that's going to be a nice worsted. Which is kind of what I wanted, was more of a worsted. Let's see. Oh yeah, easy worsted, but that could actually maybe be a DK. Come on. So there it is on DK, but if you move down to worsted, yeah. There we go. So yeah, much more consistent. So I really like how that one came out. So now if it was up to me, this is what I would do. I think this is just going to have an overall better yarn consistency. But if you were wanting it to be 100% dog fur, then the one that I liked the best would have been this one. That was the one that I pulled from the clumps without fluffing at first. And I mean, these all still have a very similar look to them, but this one I was able to control a little bit better, I think. But I don't know. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to take these, I'm going to send them to my cousin. They have the little tags on all of them except for the 4 that are done the original way. I'm going to have her look at all of them and let me know which way she would like me to finish off the rest of the bags. But I think blending it with the merino is really the way to go. It was, I occasionally, like right there, I can see there was a little lump right there, but that very rarely was happening. I also didn't have, because of the merino, I didn't have to put as high of a twist into it like I did with these. And these, even after plying it, which when you ply it, you relieve a lot of that twist, but even after that, you can still see the curls right there. That is over twisted. But if I didn't have the super high twist, it would break, it wouldn't stay together. So I think blending it with the merino is the way to go. This skein, I actually am really proud of this skein. This skein came out really nice. I mean, I know I showed it to you already, but I'm proud of that skein. So if you plan to spin dog fur, number 1, do not wash it first. I have not tried to wash it first, but I do totally agree where everybody said don't wash it first, wash it afterwards. I washed it, and yes, it was dirty. I mean, relatively dirty as far as a dog would go, but I washed this just as I would to set a skein, and I used soak. That's what I had. I actually just bought some other. So soak is a wool wash. This one is Eucalyptus, so that's another kind. There's all different kinds of wool wash out there. This one has lanolin in it, so it conditions it a little bit. But any sort of wool wash, and if you don't have wool wash and you can't afford wool wash or something, literally put like a drop or two, just a drop or two of Dawn dish soap in it. But, and that's like if you're doing like one skein, put a drop or two. If you were doing all this, you're going to want a few more drops. But You don't want it so sudsy that you can't get it rinsed out. The nice thing about these is if you don't get it all rinsed out, it's okay. These soaps are made that they're okay to have some in it. And you can get ones with scents. Um, like this one is unscented though. I prefer not to put the scents into it, especially if you end up making something for somebody and then you have a scent that maybe bugs them. But you can scent them. But I washed this, so I put it in the hot water with a little bit of soap and I let it set for 15 minutes just like I would if I was setting it. But then because I was actually trying to wash these, I rinsed that out, or squeezed, remember, don't twist, squeezed the water out, poured that out. I put some more hot water in, no extra soap, just more hot water in. And I let it set for another 15 minutes and then rinsed that just to make sure I had excess soap out, excess dirt that might have been in there, and does not smell like dog. Nice and clean, no dog smell. And I did notice some of the clumps when I pulled them out and pulled them apart. Some of them, not all of them. So it obviously depended on the time when the dog was brushed, how close it had been to a bath or something. But some of them I could smell the dog smell when I fluffed it. I didn't notice it as I was working with it. It was just when I had fluffed it and really opened that up. But once they got washed, that dog smell is gone. But washing it in the skein, which you're going to have to wash that skein anyway, washing it in the skein is the way to go. So you don't, because otherwise you really are going to end up having to card that fur and everything. And even when you think about it, those little clumps have come off of the dog when it's been brushed with like a carding brush. So it's somewhat carded right there. And then even just fluffing the cloud, you're just breaking those fibers up. And that worked fine. And if you like that lumpy bumpy, sometimes people like it. The biggest problem for me wasn't even so much of having that spinning from the cloud or something, because a lot of times people spin from the cloud, but where those dog fibers are so short and you're doing such a high twist and you've got this thing running so fast, you've got to be able to feed it quickly, and that's when you end up with these clumps. When I started working with it with the merino, I did not have to run it so fast with such a high twist, and I was able to do this a little bit slower, and I could have more consistent. And if I started to get one that might have been a little bit bigger lump, I could stop easily and I could fix that and keep going. So that's the biggest thing, was with that speed in such a small fiber. And there are certain fibers that are going to work better. I mean, technically you can spin anything that's a fiber like that, but this breed of dog has a very soft, downy coat, which is what works well with this. And like my Chihuahuas, they have a soft, fuzzy belly, but they don't shed enough to actually try and save that. Their outer coat is short and really stiff. You're not going to really be able to do much with that. Even if you blend it with a whole bunch of wool, it's not really worth doing something like that. But this is a dog that sheds a lot and has a very soft, fluffy fur. So it works great for doing something like this. So don't wash it first, spin it first, wash it after. And I would recommend adding at least a little bit of wool in with it. The merino is nice and soft. It had a nice staple length. Because here, I'll show you what the Corriedale staple length is. It was just, where's my end? There it is. So you can see how long, this is just really, really long. So when you got these itty bitty little ones in here, and then this would just keep pulling it all the way through. The merino is probably about that long. So it's a much shorter and worked much better with this. So those are my recommendations if you're planning on trying something like this yourself. And if you don't mind it being blended, you could probably get an even finer, more consistent yarn with an even higher blend, like a 50-50, would be probably a really nice blend with that 50-50, because it would just give you a lot more of those longer fibers in amongst it. You wouldn't have as like, I mean, this halo, where this one's 100%. I think that's 100%. Wait, nope, that's Corriedale. Hold on. That one even still had a lot of halo. This one, okay, no tag. This is one of the first ones. So you can see how much halo is on that. It makes it very, very fuzzy, which sometimes you want something like that. But just with the 25% merino, you can see that it's got a nice halo without being super, super fuzzy. And if you had a 50-50, you would cut that halo down just a little bit more, which would, you know, depending on the look you're wanting, I think would be really nice. But so those, again, those are my suggestions. And then also make sure you blend that fiber in enough. So I'm very happy with how all this came out, though, and I think she will be too. So I'm going to send it off to her, and then she can tell me which way she would like me to do the rest. Ow, I'm sitting on my foot and it went to sleep. I know better than to do that. But anyway, this was really fun. It's not the type of thing that I think I would personally be doing for myself, though, like I said, I don't have dogs that this would work well with, but it was fun to do. It was nice to work with. It was nice and soft, so it felt good on your hands. And once I'm glad I tried it in the different ways, and once I found one that I think works best, it was really enjoyable to spin it. So hopefully she likes them, and you know, I'll find out from her which way she would like it done. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure and click like and subscribe, and please comment below. I love comments, and I would love to know what your thought is about spinning dog fur. Is it something you've tried? Is it something you'd like to try? Is it something you think is absolutely absurd or not? I mean, when you think about it, it's like myself, I can't imagine really wearing something with dog fur. But in that same sense, if we're using wool, it's off of a sheep. If we're doing mohair, it's off of a goat. I mean, all these come off of animals. So it's just another fiber animal. So it's really not that crazy. It just seems weird to us because cats and dogs are our basic pet, and we don't think about wearing their fur. Unless you're Cruella de Vil. But anyway, so leave me a comment. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And I guess that's all I have to say. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.